Karen dragged me into court, calling me a trespasser on my own land, but when my daughter walked in wearing that judge's robe, every lie in the room began to shake. What happened next didn't just clear my name, it burned the entire HOA to the ground. The gravel crunched under my boots as I walked my old golden retriever, Scout, across the property line I had owned for 27 years. A new HOA board member, Karen Holloway, stood on the other side, her manicured nails clutching a clipboard like a weapon ready for war. "Sir, you can't walk that much here. This land belongs to the lakeside here now," she snapped, her voice shrill enough to make birds scatter. "Before we go on, please, where are you watching from and what time is it right now? I want to see how many families, parents, and neighbors are feeling this story across the country tonight. Your comment helps this message reach more people who've faced unfair HOA rules too." I laughed bitterly. "Ma'am, this land's been mine since before your fancy bylaws existed." My voice trembled, not from fear, but from deep disbelief. She whipped out her phone, smirking. "Then let the police handle it." The words hit like a hammer. My heart thudded, my dog barked softly beside me. Within minutes, 2 squad cars arrived. Red and blue lights painted my ranch gate, reflecting off my old Chevy. Neighbors peeked from behind their curtains. "Mr. Halden, we received a trespassing complaint," one officer said. His tone was polite but unsure, glancing at Karen's clipboard like it held the truth. I pulled out my deed, yellowed from age, stamped with my late wife's signature. "This land's mine. Always has been." My voice cracked with restrained anger. Karen crossed her arms. "Paperwork means nothing. The HOA manages this zone now. You're under arrest for trespassing." Her arrogance was venom. As they reached for handcuffs, Scout growled. I whispered, "Easy, boy." Inside, though, I was boiling. They had no idea who they were about to cross. Years earlier, I'd built that lakeside cabin with my own hands, every nail a memory of my wife, Emily, who died before seeing it finished. The HOA didn't exist back then. It came later, wealthy newcomers building identical homes, turning open ranchland into lakeside community estates. I tried staying out of their politics. I kept to myself, mowed my grass, waved politely, and paid the ridiculous beautification fees just to avoid trouble. But Karen Holloway moved in 2 years ago, a real estate agent with a superiority complex and a loud voice that echoed through every HOA meeting. She hated my old cabin, said it ruined the aesthetic symmetry of her lake view. She even sent notices claiming my dog's barking violated noise limits. Scout's an old soul, barely barks except at coyotes. But Karen? She saw rebellion in everything that didn't fit her perfect suburban picture. She once told me to paint my mailbox beige like everyone else's. I told her I'd rather paint her fence red. She didn't laugh. I'd ignored her for months, but that morning, her patience snapped when she saw me walking Scout near the lake path behind my own house. She screamed about trespassing zones and HOA control. I thought she was bluffing, but seeing her call the police? That was war. As they led me to the cruiser that day, I caught her smile in the reflection of her sunglasses. That's when I knew I wasn't backing down. At the station, Officer Brooks sighed. "Mr. Halden, this is awkward. HOA board insists this property's there's under new zoning boundaries." I clenched my fists. He offered coffee. I refused. My mind spun through every year of mortgage payments, property taxes, sweat, and broken knuckles from building that cabin. Karen had followed me there, standing smugly in the hallway, whispering into her phone. She thought she'd finally humiliated me publicly. Then I remembered the one person who could fix everything. My daughter, Allison, the chief state attorney judge for the county. We hadn't spoken much lately. She lived a busy life in the city, courtroom to courtroom. But she was still my girl, and she loved justice. I dialed her number. "Hey, sweetheart. Dad's got a problem." My voice trembled, half embarrassed, half proud. "The HOA thinks they own my land." There was silence, then her firm, calm tone. "Dad, don't say another word to anyone. I'll handle it." The air around me seemed to shift instantly. Karen overheard, rolling her eyes. "Who's gonna help you now, an imaginary lawyer?" she sneered, laughing like a villain in a cheap movie. I smiled faintly. Not imaginary. My daughter. Karen laughed louder, until Officer Brooks raised an eyebrow at the word, judge. As the call ended, I saw Karen's confidence flicker for the first time. That was the moment her empire began to crumble. Allison moved faster than I ever expected. The next morning, a black SUV pulled up to the HOA office. She stepped out in a gray suit, calm and sharp. Karen greeted her with fake politeness. Ma'am, this is a private HOA meeting. Allison's badge glinted under the sun. Not anymore, ma'am. She requested all zoning documents and property transfers involving Lakeside Estates. The HOA president, Mr. Lott, fumbled through binders nervously. Allison's voice was steady but cold. You redrew the property lines without state approval. That's illegal under Chapter 417 of Florida statute. Karen's smirk vanished. We were told the county approved. Allison cut her off. No, you told the county. There's a difference. Her tone sliced like glass. Neighbors gathered outside the meeting room, whispering. Some had faced similar bullying, fines for kids' toys on lawns, flags, even Christmas lights. Allison's eyes met mine. Dad, they forged a boundary adjustment. This could mean prison time for the board. I felt vindicated but also heartbroken. Karen tried to interrupt. You can't threaten us. We're a homeowners association. Allison turned slowly. And I'm the chief state attorney judge. The silence that followed was deafening. Karen's face drained of color as she realized exactly who she'd picked a fight with. That night, I stood on my porch, looking at the calm lake. Scout lay beside me. For the first time in months, I slept without fear. News spread like wildfire. HOA under state investigation, read the local headlines. Neighbors who once stayed quiet now lined up to testify. The Jenkins family spoke about unfair fines. The Garcias complained about Karen spying through their security cameras. Everyone had a horror story. I watched from my porch as reporters swarmed the entrance. Karen avoided the press, hiding behind mirrored sunglasses and excuses about community order. Allison held a press briefing outside the courthouse. No one is above the law, not even an HOA. Her voice echoed like thunder over the crowd. Karen sent me a letter that night, handwritten but venomous. You'll regret this. We'll bury you in lawsuits. I burned it in my fire pit. Neighbors began treating me differently. You were right, Jim, one said. We let them bully us too long. For the first time, the community united. Kids played freely near the lake again. Dogs ran off-leash. It felt like the neighborhood had finally taken a breath after years of suffocation. But Karen wasn't finished. She hired a private lawyer, determined to sue me personally for defamation of HOA character. Allison warned, let her. Every move she makes now digs her deeper. Her calm made me smile. She had her mother's fire. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that Karen had one last card to play, and I'd soon find out what it was. Karen's lawyer filed a complaint claiming I illegally accessed private HOA land and spread misinformation harming HOA reputation. Allison called it a desperate bluff. But Karen had money and influence. She wanted to drag. I sat at the hearing, clutching my old deed. My palms were sweaty, but I felt my daughter's reassuring tap on my shoulder. Stay calm, Dad. Karen strutted into the courtroom, dressed like she owned the world, smirking toward the cameras waiting outside. Her lawyer began. Mr. Halden repeatedly trespassed on HOA-controlled property. Allison rose immediately. Objection, false ownership claims, unsupported by state zoning law. The judge nodded. Sustained. Karen's grin faltered. The audience murmured. Every smug word she'd practiced began to crumble before real authority. Allison presented photographs, county maps, and the original surveyor's affidavit proving the lake path was legally mine. The silence was cutting. Karen whispered something to her lawyer, panicking as she saw her empire collapse under cold facts. The judge finally spoke. Case dismissed. HOA will cover all damages. Karen's jaw dropped. I looked at Allison, my heart swelling with pride. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Allison simply said, "Justice isn't a privilege. It's a promise." A week later, the county suspended the entire Lakeside HOA board pending criminal review for forged documents and misuse of residents' funds. Karen's name appeared in every headline. HOA president under fraud investigation. The perfect suburban image shattered overnight. Neighbors who once feared her now avoided eye contact at the grocery store. Her empire of control had burned down completely. I tried feeling sorry for her, but remembered every threat, every humiliation, every tear from families she'd bullied. Compassion turned to closure. Allison visited the ranch that weekend, laughing as Scout ran to her, tail wagging like old times. "You did good, Dad," she said softly. "We stood by the lake where it all began." "Your mom would have been proud," I told her. She smiled. "She taught us both to fight right." Later that evening, a state officer handed me official notice restoring full rights to my land. The document gleamed under the porch light. Karen drove by that night, silent, her car slowing near my driveway. For once, she didn't yell, just stared with hollow eyes. I tipped my hat and said quietly, "Welcome to my neighborhood." Her car sped off into the dark. The lake rippled under the moonlight, peaceful and free again, like it always should have been. With the HOA dissolved, the neighborhood finally breathed. No more fines for grass height or mailbox color. No more notes on doors about violations. We rebuilt community the way it was meant to be, neighbors helping neighbors. Kids fished by the lake again, laughter echoing through the summer air. Allison helped draft new county rules ensuring HOAs couldn't seize private property without state oversight ever again. She called it Halden's Law.